Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Buff baby alert.
We've got Chris.
Paging Seymour Butts.
And I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. Today we're doing the second part of our two-part. This is probably like one of the worst first episodes you could choose to listen to this show. Just like honestly, if this is your first one, go listen to another one. So we are doing part 2 of Young Avengers. Last time we did issues 1 through 6. And then we are reading number 7 through 12 this time, from 2005, written by Jim Chung. Art for this set mostly done by Andrea DeVito, with a ton of other little guest artists throughout. And then, of course, we're continuing our long read afterwards. We're getting to Detective Comics 661, which is Chapter 6 of Knightfall. So we're in the middle of a whole bunch of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, you could listen to this one. We'll try to let you know what's going on. We're not going to try that hard, though. All right. So I guess just jumping right into Young Avengers here. It does a pretty decent job of kind of just giving us the lay of the land as if it is kind of a second trade here. I guess it was at the beginning of a second trade.
Yeah, you said last episode, Kia, that this was a 12-issue maxi series. I don't think it was intended as a 12-issue maxi series. And then they just realized, like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna have to wrap this up, because I think Heinberg was unable to do the writer Alan Heinberg was unable to turn in scripts on time based off of his other like television commitments.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I said Jim Chung was the writer. I got that wrong. It's Alan Heinberg, mostly drawn by Jim Chung, but some fill-in stuff with
2 issues by Andrea DeVito. And the way that this looks, it looks like DeVito did 2 issues, and then it still took like Chung like another 2 months to come out with issue 9. I think it was probably all behind. Heinberg is a television writer. This was in the Marvel era where they just had a ton of television writers. I think was it Damon Lindelof from Lost was also writing like Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk.
Yeah,
that's another one we should put on the list for April Fool's Day.
Boy, yeah.
I was gonna say for a great comic.
I don't remember that one. I don't know if I even finished that one because I think it took like 2 years for 5 issues to come out or something.
It took like a 3 or 4 year break in between after 2 issues. Yeah, it was a rough one. Also by our favorite Secret Invasion artist, which we'll get to. But that's neither here nor there. Like Heinberg was just kind of behind on scripts, and so I think the book was like, we'll just end it and we'll come back with the season 2 whenever you're ready, man. So
yeah. And in the meantime, they have like a special or two. They have a team up with the Runaways. Like they have some other stuff. And then I think Children's Crusade is like the next series, right?
Yeah,
Now the version I was reading, it was the big old collection that had 1 through 12. It did have the Young Avengers special mixed in there.
Yeah.
Did y'all read that?
No, I didn't even realize it was. I forgot completely about it until I saw a letters page mention, and I'm like,
got it.
Because he was like, "Thank you for Neil Adams for doing some stories." I'm like, when the fuck did Neil Adams show up to do Young Avengers? I think I'd remember that. So that was
we'll talk about it briefly. I took a few notes, but it was very prequel-y stuff. Like, hey, here's what everyone was going through before the Young Avengers.
Seems like it can't move the needle on the plot, but we need some type of product on the shelves.
Yeah.
I get it.
But yeah, let's jump straight into the story here. Issue 7 opens with a newspaper talking about the new Young Avengers. Whoa, already. It's only been 6 issues, and now we got a whole new team. But from last time, we have who's on our main team here. We started with Kang the Conqueror, who's gone out of the picture here for now. But we've got the Hulkling, Teddy. We've got Warlock, or Wiccan. What's he calling himself?
Wiccan right now.
Yeah. We've got Patriot, Eli. We've got Cassie Lang, who is Stature, and we've got Kate Bishop, who is what's she calling herself? A Hawkingbird?
No, they're making fun of her. Herself? They're making fun of her. She doesn't have a name. She's just Kate Bishop. And and they were part of the Vision said that when the Avengers are disassembled, that I have a program to find the next generation of Avengers who will all have some type of connection to Avengers history.
What a good failsafe to have.
Right. But he didn't tell them what their connection is. So Billy's still doesn't know what his connection is. And then Kate Bishop, who we know from, Hawkeye, we've covered her before. She apparently was the one that wasn't part of Vision's plans. She just earned her weight on the team. So they wanted, apparently Marvel Editorial wanted that, which is, I guess, is a good idea. It's like, we don't want it just to all be like nostalgia
Destiny
grabs.
stuff.
Yeah.
So we open with the New Avengers, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Cap. They're all watching the news about how they got how the Young Avengers have captured the Shocker. They've recovered some cash. Ken Cap is like, all right, we gotta put these guys down. We gotta stop them. And Luke is like, well, what if we train them instead? And Cap's like, nah, I'm calling their parents.
This hits a lot different than when I was 18 reading this book. I'm like, yeah, don't fucking tell their parents. And now I'm like, God damn it, please tell their parents.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a turn on this book. But I like how this, I was like, that's the worst thing that could happen. That's so cute.
Billy's mom, Wiccan's mom, is hounding him about grades and college and all that stuff. He lives on the Upper West Side. That's where I work and teach math. This reminds me a lot of the families I've seen. And he brings Teddy home, who is his boyfriend. Have they outright said that in the first 6 issues?
There was like one point when the art was kind of like, oh, I'm concerned about you. They never say the word gay, and they never kiss in this entire run. But this won GLAAD awards because this is 2005, and that's as much as they can get away with. And even then, the letters pages are like, why is this book so woke? Or whatever the word was. You're shoving this down our faces. I'm like, no, not really. But,
not really at all.
I would say they didn't go too far enough. But
yeah. So Billy is planning to tell his parents that he's a superhero. He's trying to essentially come out of the closet there. But he's like, all right, Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you. And they're like, oh, we've always known. He kind of accidentally comes out of the closet in the other direction, which he wasn't expecting. But they're supportive of it, which is nice. And with all that hubbub, he's like, yeah, I can't really. It's not a good time to tell them we're superheroes. Cassie Lang comes home to her mom. And some mean guy who's talking shit about her. This is her stepdad. I wrote his name down. I need
to actually see if that's actually Judy Greer's husband's name in the Ant-Man movies.
I was going to say, he seems nice in the movies.
He's a cop who doesn't like Scott Lang because... I mean, his wife's ex is a fucking deadbeat. I think that's the extent that he's mean.
I mean, it makes sense. He's they're seeing stature on the news, and they're like, "Is that Cassie?" And they're like, "No way, is that her? She can't even like focus ever enough to do something like this, and her dad's powers weren't genetic." And Cassie's like walking in on them and like hearing all this, and she's like getting mad, and she's growing big. And then the stepdad's like, yeah, and she knows how painful it was for you the first time, like going through having a superhero in your family, and she'd never put you through that again. She loves you too much. Cassie's like, oh, and Cassie shrinks down to nothing, and she's wearing her uniform, but like her civilian clothes just kind of like flop down into a pile of nothing, right behind her parents. Which I'm wondering, there's no follow up here, but I kind of assume they would see this pile of Cassie's clothes on the ground, or at least
she's a teenager.
She feels very small. Yeah, she's also like probably a fucking mess. Like she's a teenager. Yeah. She's like clothes are just left all over the house.
Exactly.
Update: he is Officer Jim Paxton, and I think he and Bobby Cannavale is. So it's not the same name. They didn't carry the name over from then.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that stepdad seems nice. This one seems like a jerk.
Yeah. Maybe Judy Greer remarried again.
Oh, maybe. So then Eli's grandma is talking to Eli, Patriot. He's like, all right, she says, I called your work. They said you left early. Eli does not want to talk to anybody. He's in a rush. He's looking for something, and then he's out the door. And Eli's grandma is like, all right, just make sure you see your grandpa before you leave. And Grandpa is looking at the Young Avengers in the newspaper, and he's got a little tear in his eye. He knows it's him. It's sweet. Tony Stark is looking over this Vision body. They've got like this young version of the Vision. He kind of tells Cap and Jessica Jones that it is kind of like reset. It's got the same level of intellect and everything that the old Vision did, but it's kind of like it's a kid version. Wow, perfect for the Young Avengers, right? We have Cassie and Kate walking together. Cassie being all stressed about her parents. And she's like, yeah, Kate, at least you've got Eli. And she's like, what? Ew, all we do is fight. Oh, my God. So some more tension-y stuff there. Then they run into the boys, Billy and Teddy. They talk about how they failed to come out of the closet with the superhero stuff. They decided they're going to go talk to the Avengers directly about the whole thing. But they're trying to get in contact with Eli. Eli hasn't really shown up yet. He's off doing his own little investigation on like a meth lab. or I guess it's a mutant growth hormone lab. And they catch him. They shoot at him. He falls through the sunroof of this place. Billy casts a locating spell to find him, and they start heading out in that direction. Yeah, he's gotten into some trouble. And Eli meets Mr. Hyde. It's his mutant growth hormone lab, and he's pissed at everybody. And we get a nice little fight there. We get some side-by-sides, too, of Cap. I like this scene a lot. Cap visiting Eli's grandma and Jessica Jones visiting Cassie's mom. And just kind of different reactions. Eli's grandma is very excited to see Cap. They were just talking about him. Wants to invite him in to see Isaiah, that original Captain America, with the grandpa. We kind of skipped over that, but yeah. That's why Eli's grandpa was so happy to see him. He was the original Captain America.
And you can read more about that in Truth, Red, White, and Black by Kyle Baker and Robert Morales. Trying to catch all up if y'all this is your first episode.
Yeah. Thank you. Good job. And Jessica Jones, meanwhile, visiting Peggy. Peggy hates superheroes. She doesn't want anything to do with them, but she also is just like, yeah, I know what this is about. It's her, isn't it? We then get the rest of the Young Avengers who show up to help Eli get him out of the jam there. Billy gets to Eli to kind of rescue him and is like, Eli, why are you bleeding? What happened to your powers? And Eli like breaks away. He's like, don't follow me. And of course, Billy follows him and sees him injecting himself with the mutant growth hormone. Oh my God. Eli is a drug addict. Oh no. We mentioned it last time.
He gets his powers from drugs.
Gets his powers from drugs. We mentioned it last time, but this book is really good with cliffhangers, I think.
I thought the Mr. Hyde cliffhanger was the cliffhanger. I'm like, why are we still talking about this issue, Kia? We're done.
Yeah. For a second, I started taking notes in the next section. I was like, oh, wait, no. Now it's the end of the issue. Okay, got it. But yeah, 1 through 11, no 12. That's like the end of the story. But 1 through 11, all I would say have like pretty strong cliffhangers. Let's jump straight into the next one. Billy realizes that Eli does not have powers. Cassie and Kate.
It takes him a minute to realize it too. He's just like, but mutant growth hormone is for people that don't have any powers. Eli, what are you doing?
It's a pretty nice moment, I think. And then so Cassie and Kate are trying to fight Mr. Hyde, but they're not doing a great job. Mr. Hyde kind of has Kate like breaks her bow, has her held out by her head, basically. Just one giant arm holding her head out. They bust open the wall, and the police are all there already. Mr. Hyde is kind of holding her out like a human shield. Cap is then, back at Eli's grandma's place talking about everything. We learn a little bit more about Eli's family here. His mom remarried and left, and just left Eli there with the grandparents who wanted to make sure he got to, finish school and go to college. Then Cap is like, all right, yeah, we know that Eli got the superhero serum from the blood transfusion when he got stabbed and got the blood from his grandpa. Grandma's like, what? That never happened. What are you talking about? And Cap was like, wait a minute. Then where did this kid get his powers from? Jessica is meanwhile also talking to Peggy about how when Cassie was a kid, she would steal Pym particles when she had joint custody with Dad, which seems like it's really not Dad's fault that she stole the Pym particles, but I guess he could have done a better job keeping an eye on her. But the repeated exposure gave her powers. And Peggy, Cassie's mom, Peggy, is now worried about her heart. Oh, my gosh, because Cassie also had a heart condition, and that was the origin of the Scott Lang Ant-Man. Oh, my goodness. It never comes up again in these issues.
I was going to say, it's been cured.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
She already had the surgery, but she's like, maybe this will upset it.
Mom, stop worrying. Everything's going to be fine.
Well, until she dies in the Future Foundation and Scott Lang comes back from the dead and tries to get her back from the dead again.
Well, I guess we'll have to read Avengers Crusade and then Future Foundation to keep up on all that.
They are just ships passing in the night.
Yeah.
One was dead, one is alive. It's like an old riddle.
Have they ever been alive together? I'm sure they have.
I think right now they're all alive.
Okay.
Maybe.
So so Peggy is also still talking to Jessica, saying, all right, yeah, her stepdad, Blake, that's where I wrote the name down, Blake. Blake is a cop, hates superheroes, doesn't want to tell him about it, says, just leave. I don't want to see anything about this. Of course, they've got the news on while they're talking, and Jess sees this Hyde situation on the news. The news got there fast, I gotta say. I did not expect that. But Billy,
cameras. They got pretty good close-ups on Hawkeye, or whatever her name is.
It looks exactly like the panel that was drawn in full detail for us. It's wonderful. So then Billy Wiccan flies in for the save. Eli is also there. He's like super pumped up with this MGH, kind of rabid almost.
He's drooling.
Yeah,
it's a good touch. You know that he's out of control.
Yep.
And Mr. Hyde knows that he's like using the drugs.
Yep. I also like this little touch where Kate kind of yells after him. It's like, Eli, I mean, Patriot. They're just not used to using code names yet. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that. But the fight scene here ends with Eli stabbing Hyde with the syringe. Hyde gets kind of overloaded with MGH and passes out. And Kate is asking Eli, like, what did you do? And he's like, I had to take him down. Like, no, what did you do to yourself, Eli? And he's getting angry. He's like, I can't believe you told them, Billy. And he didn't have to say anything. We can tell, man. But then the Avengers show up. We got Cap, Luke, Iron Man, Spidey, and Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones is in this book a lot with the Avengers for not being an Avenger. But yes. I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of my one note that I appreciated in the first arc, but by this point I'm like, can the Young Avengers be stars of their own book instead of Jessica Jones and Cap?
No, I mean, and that's the weird framing. Like, even like the first scene of this trade or episode we're talking about is like, it's all the adults, like, we got to deal with the Young Avengers. I'm like, let them be characters, but they can never.
Okay.
It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, like, it makes me feel like, what's the focus of this book? You know,
I mean, they're still the focus. I think it is just sort of that device of like, oh, let's show them some of the characters they know and love, so they don't go running away.
I think it is some Trojan horsing. I think they do a really good job. Like, I mean, you know, because like when with these team books, I'm always talking about like, well, who do I hang on to? Like, who do I latch on to? And if nothing else, I know how to latch on to Spider-Man and Captain America and Jessica Jones, and then I'll be like, okay, I guess I'll pay attention to the Hulkling.
You really can't latch on to any of them in this book, though. I would say in this arc, Hulkling, yeah, but like none of the original Avengers are like latch-onable, I would say.
Of the original Avengers or the Young Avengers?
The original Avengers.
The new Avengers.
And not my Avengers.
Not the new
Avengers.
Young Avengers. Yeah. All right, it's getting complicated.
The old new Avengers.
The old.
Yeah, when Sentry shows up, I was just like, oh my god.
Sentry probably didn't need to be there.
God, I'm so glad he's not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What a disaster of an idea.
God. Well,
is Sentry a good comic to put on our list or a bad comic for our?
I love the original Sentry.
The original miniseries is cool. Making him a new Avenger and tying him to Marvel continuity was.
I thought
stupid.
we did read the Sentry, the original stuff.
No, we have not.
Yeah, that's worth reading.
Yeah. Okay, we'll put the Sentry on the list.
Some of the art coming up later in the Young Avengers special definitely reminded me of it. Jay Lee. Oh
yeah.
All right, but back on track here. Where are we? The Patriot's gonna walk out on the Avengers and everything. He's like, "Yeah, you had a chance to train us. You didn't want to. We're out of here." And Billy casts a spell to make him stop. I want you to stop. Which I guess the way it works is he passes out because he just stops. And when Eli wakes up, he's on like a lab table with the Vision, young Vision, looking over him, saying, hey, the toxins are out of your body, but you're still weak. But listen, I've got all the memories of Iron Lad in me from when it was Kang, and we can be friends now. And Eli and Vision are friends. Oh, how nice. And they head to the meeting room where all the Avengers and the Young Avengers are talking there. Cassie is upset that they went to her parents, but Jessica's like, it's okay, your mom already knew. Cap tells Eli that he knows there was no blood transfusion, and Eli kind of gives us this whole story here about what led him to the mutant growth hormone, that when Kang showed up, he was actually looking for Eli's uncle, who was a super soldier also, Uncle Josiah, but he disappeared a year ago. And we never follow up on this either.
So it would have been Uncle Josiah, who's like, I'm presuming a grown man, and then a bunch of 14-year-olds?
Yeah, that was the Kang protocol. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And Eli says, he's like, all right, I told him I was a super soldier he was looking for, and I set out to become one. And he like throws down his belt, and in his belt buckle, it like pops open and all these pills pop out. which seems like it seems like it could pop open pretty easily in battle, and you lose all your pills. But I don't know. And then Eli's like, "Okay, I quit. I'm out of here."
So I do like that. Like there's this pretense that young Kang went to everybody with the Vision Protocol, and none of them knew what to do with it. So they just decided to latch onto a hero that they weren't. Like Wiccan was like, I think I could probably dress up like Thor, right? Sure.
Yep.
That's not my powers, but sure. And even like we're about to learn like Hulkling is like, I could look like a Hulk. That sounds cool, right?
I really do, man. Are we due for a prequel of that to see how that happened? I don't know. With all of them, probably not.
That might was that covered in one of the books that we didn't read? The Young Avengers.
No, I mean maybe, I don't know. I will say this is where in the trade that I was reading, the Young Avengers special was positioned here. So I'll just mention it real quick. It's like Jessica Jones going around talking to all of them, and it does have really nice art from everybody. It's got who's the original Alias artist? What's his name?
Michael Gaydos. I saw that he was in that. Yeah,
he does sort of the framing scenes, and then every one of the kids kind of gets their own individual art for their own bit, which is pretty good. We get Bill Sienkiewicz art for Kate Bishop, which I enjoyed. So all in all, it's really not a very important issue. It's very forgettable, but it was nice to flip through for the art, and you get just a little bit of the prequel kind of stuff from everybody, and just kind of see. I will say, I think the most interesting bits were the Cassie Lang stuff, where she was just trying to get to Avengers Mansion and talk to Tony Stark to figure out what happened to her dad. And mom shows up and stepdad shows up, and they're just like, hey, my cop friends are going to help get you home. And she's just like, oh, I'm going to run away from home. And she ends up not to. She kind of thought for a second she might go join the Runaways because she heard about them. Mm-hmm. And then she gets involved with this Young Avengers stuff. She goes, okay, I might stick around here. I thought that was the most important bit there. But again, ultimately pretty forgettable. Let's jump into Avengers number 9. Eli has quit the team. That was the cliffhanger from last time. He has no powers. The news is talking about how the Young Avengers are being disbanded. Eli is going home on time, going straight to work, all that good stuff. Peggy, Cass's mom, Peggy, is driving her to school. Billy is biking to school. They're all like encountering little bits of crimes and like, oh, I got to go help. And it's like, oh, no, I really shouldn't do that. I'm not a hero anymore. Teddy stops a mugger on the street, and he pretends to be Reed Richards. I thought that was cute. Runs into the other 3 Avengers afterwards at the library. So it's Teddy, Billy, Cassie, and Kate are there. They've been trying to get a hold of Eli, who has not been returning their calls. Eli is just kind of so distraught over having lied to them about having powers. He just kind of doesn't want to be involved anymore. But they decide they're going to find him. They go to the library where he's working and kind of confront him as he's getting to work. They don't care about the drugs, and Kate's like, yeah, I don't have any powers either. We just think you're our leader. But before they can get too much of an answer, the Super Skrull shows up. Is this a friend of the show? We've seen this guy before, right?
Yeah, I mean, 100 episodes, we covered the Kree-Skrull War in episodes 98, 99, our first 2-parter, just like now.
Wow.
Dun, dun,
Yep.
dun.
The anniversary of Super Skrull.
Yeah, he also had some a focus during that Annihilation crossover event, right?
Yeah.
Did he have
did we ever do Annihilation Conquest?
I don't think we've done either, have we?
We did Annihilation, definitely.
Oh, we did do Annihilation? Mm-hmm. That was actually art by Andrea DeVito.
Yes.
So
There we
mentioned
go.
that.
Yep.
Same artist that did the fill-in here. I will say I like Jim Chung's art, but if I can nitpick him very quickly, when Teddy is Reed Richardsing, he like stretches out to like stop the mugger, and then he, as like a save, is like, "Oh, I'm Reed Richards. That's why I'm doing this," and shapeshifts. The perspective is wrong. Like the camera's on the wrong side basically, so you can't see what he's doing, and so the whole scene becomes very muddled. Where I don't know if he thought he was breaking a 180-degree rule or something, but like, you should show that his arm is stretching in a way that is actually like visible to the, person reading it. Otherwise, you're just like, what's happening? Like, why is he pretending?
It was just a person's face. It was a little strange. You're right.
Yeah, like you don't see the stretch. So then when he in the next panel is Reed Richards, you're like, what?
Yep. So the Super Skrull, if we haven't mentioned him, has the powers of everyone in the Fantastic Four. He's got stretchy powers. flamey powers, invisible powers, and thing powers. And he also has hypnosis, as he reveals to them later. He doesn't really use it very much, though. It's like weak hypnosis. And he's saying, "Hey, I'm gonna take Teddy home." And Teddy's like, "Okay, I'm a shapeshifter, but I'm not a Skrull. I'm a mutant." And Super Skrull's like, "No, you're a Skrull, and I'm gonna help you see the truth."
I don't know how Teddy is like, "I'm not a Skrull." Like, have you seen yourself, dude?
Yeah, you look exactly like a Skrull, man.
I guess he doesn't have a chin.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That big old Jay Leno chin.
Yeah, he doesn't have the weird Skrull chin that they all have, with like the wrinkles.
The Thanos chin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. And the other Young Avengers kind of try to help him a little bit. Teddy has super strength though, and he kind of gives Super Skrull a big old punch, and he's like, "Yeah, I thought, isn't the rumor that you're the only Skrull with super strength?" He's like, okay. And the Super Skrull radios home. He says the rumors about Teddy's dad might be true. What rumors? What rumors? The Young Avengers run away. We don't find out yet.
And then he does mention, they're like, he's like, "My mom does Pilates. She can't be a Skrull." And they're like, "What about your dad?" He's like, "My dad died of cancer." And you're like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
Alarm.
Yeah. Before Teddy was even born, he died of, yeah.
Yep. That's as a Marvel
going on.
Comics reader, you're like, uh-oh, who died of cancer?
I don't believe that.
Oh.
Teddy.
Oh. We covered that.
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
We did?
Oh,
Oh, we did.
The death of Captain Marvel. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that. I thought it was just a lie, but I realized, it is.
No, that's
thought it was just
the
a
mom
lie.
admitting, that his real dad is dead.
Yeah.
Oh. So he's like a little Captain Marvel boy.
I mean, yeah, we get that. We get that later.
Not Marvel boy. Don't get confused.
Not. Yeah. So Teddy's mom is at Billy's place talking about stuff, and Teddy's mom is like, "All right, I have something to tell you, Teddy." But then the Super Skrull shows up and has Eli trapped in his stretchy arms. Eli didn't kind of want to join up with the rest of the team. He just went home while everyone ran away from the Super Skrull, which maybe was a bad idea. Maybe you should have just run and stayed with the team, man. But Super Skrull uses a device to reveal Teddy's true form. But instead of revealing that Teddy is a Skrull, it reveals that Teddy's mom is a Skrull. And she starts fighting either. Also, is not his real mom. She's just been ordered by the Empress to protect Teddy. Super Skrull burns her alive, and they can't save her life. She's just a dead, flaming skeleton on the ground, and he's kidnapped Teddy, and Billy has run after him, and woof. Boy, that was an ending right there.
That was an ending. We've got a dead mom on the thing, but you know what we're really worried about? Teddy missing.
Yeah, we can't see two characters kiss, but we can see like a flaming corpse. That's fine.
Oof, boy.
That's I mean, I think Bruce Campbell said you can cut a titty off, but you can't kiss it. I think it's what Bruce Campbell said for an American film. But
yep.
I mean, like, I know we make fun of Secret Invasion. We're about to make fun of Secret Invasion for April Fool's Day. But the effect of somebody turning into a Skrull where they still have their clothes and same haircut, it's a really good image.
I like it. Good. It's always good.
It's probably better with Jim Chung art because it's really good. I like it a lot.
It is funny that his Super Skrull is like, now to push the button that will reveal who in this room is a Skrull.
Yeah. Pretty good. I wish I had that button.
And then Billy's mom is like, "My word," in the background.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know what's going on. So on to
we read Eat, Pray, Love together in our book club.
Oh, jeez. So on to issue 10 here. Young Vision, is playing chess with Jarvis, asking if he's kind of done going through all the training and stuff, and he's like ready to be an Avenger. He's like, not yet. And he's like, I bet Tony Stark is like worried I'm going to go crazy and take stuff over, right? He's like, don't worry, I've been installing fail safes, reading up on my Vision history, so nothing happens again. Then the rest of the Young Avengers show up. They kind of tell Jarvis what's going on with Teddy and Super Skrull, and then need him to contact the Avengers to help with the Super Skrull. Jarvis is like, I don't really think I can, but let me go see if I can call Tony Stark. And Vision, meanwhile, is talking to the Young Avengers like, hey, let's just go find another Young Avengers. I can do that. and he locates a speedster somewhere. And I forget who on the team was like, how's that going to help us? And it's like, well, he can like control particles, speed, and make them explode too. And they're like, oh yeah, let's go get this guy. And they invite Vision with them to go on this mission together. It's nice.
Yeah. And Cassie is like, can you not look like Iron Lad anymore? Because she's still thinking about that robot kiss she had, I guess.
Yeah.
So he looks more like the Vision, and then she's like, oh, that's better.
Yeah, he like puts on a cape and stuff. Not puts on a cape, like makes a cape appear out of digital stuff.
Yeah, he looks more like a small Vision and less like Iron Lad.
Yeah. And then turns out Vision is taking them to juvie because they find the Young Avenger he found accidentally vaporized his school, and he's in prison for it. Great. Vision, Billy, and Cassie all head in while the rest kind of wait outside, and they bust his cell open. And this guy looks exactly like Billy's twin, except he has silver hair and super speed. What's going on here?
So this is when I was on the internet. I was studying abroad, Kia, and this is when you would go and pick up my comic books from the.
Oh yeah.
And so I was acquiring comics on the internet, and I remember reading this, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is obvious who this is." I'm like, one, I don't see how they are resembled. I'm just used to comic artists just having three faces, so I didn't realize that. They keep saying like Billy and this guy look the exact same, and I'm like, do they? Okay, sure, they have different haircuts.
It's very different hair.
Yeah.
And then, but the whole internet was like, I know exactly who this is. And because it was like 2 or 3 months between issues, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Why are y'all being cagey? And I'm sure I was talking to people like Chris. They're like, I know exactly who this is. This is fucking obvious. But I was not on board yet. So,
well, we'll get into it. I think it's the weakest part of the book is how the characters are just like, well, we know what the solution is. And you're like, how would you know that?
Yeah. So they bust him out, and he starts instantly going a little crazy, attacking all the guards and stuff that are there. And Eli's like, hey, hold on a second. We got to get this under control. We didn't free a villain. We're rescuing a superhero. Are you with us? And he's like, yeah. Okay. So then we turn to the Super Skrull, whose name, by the way, is Klurt, right? Or something like that. I don't know how you say it with KL''RT, but Klurt sounds right. He's contacting his home base saying he has Doric the Eighth in his custody. This is the Emperor's heir, and he's got him. And the Young Avengers finally show up there with the speedster at their hand, and whose name is Tommy, by the way. I don't think we mentioned that. Tommy and Billy, twins. And Klurt is about to tell them who Teddy's dad is. And the Kree show up and they blast the Super Skrull. Oh no. And they're like, Teddy, you're one of us. And Teddy is a Kree? What? I thought he was a Skrull. What's going on, man? He's a Kree. So we find out at the beginning of the next issue, Teddy's dad was Captain Marvel, the original, who died of cancer. We read that. I completely forgot that until Chris mentioned it. But his dad was a Kree.
Because even then I thought it was a lie, and or like his mom was a Skrull and she was radioactive and killed his mom or killed his dad.
I thought it was just like, your dad. You don't know him because he died of cancer. Don't worry about it. But it is like, no, you didn't know him because he died of cancer. For real.
Yeah, famously.
Importantly, and Spider-Man and Daredevil.
Spider-Man went and visited him on the moon or whatever.
Yeah, everybody would say.
Daredevil was there too. Daredevil hopped a spaceship and went to the moon.
I think it was the moon of Jupiter, right? It was Titan.
Yeah, it was something crazy like that. Yeah.
I think I want to have a destination funeral on the moon.
To the moon? I'm not going.
Damn it. All right.
Kia, you'll know who your true friends are if they do or do not come to your destination funeral on the moon.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Your good friend Elon Musk. When did this happen?
He's the only one who cares about me enough to show up to my funeral, you guys. All right. So we learned that Teddy is half Kree, half Skrull. But the Kree are like, no. Your dad was Kree. That makes you all Kree. You have no choice but to join the Kree army. And he's like, oh boy, I don't want to do that. And Super Skrull this whole time has not been trying to kidnap Teddy. He's been trying to save him from the Kree getting him.
He did murder his mom in the process, though.
That too, but he kind of admits that later. He's like, yeah, and she was one of my own as well. That was I kind of hand a little bit there.
But he wants to basically upset the Skrull sort of, power dynamics of like, you're the heir of this empress who died and doesn't have any heirs, so you have a claim to the throne. But yeah, that's clearly that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we also learn a little bit more information about Billy and Tommy, and we get confirmation essentially that they are the Scarlet Witch's twins, presumably souls that were freed from Mephisto when he died from a bunch of the Scarlet Witch mumbo jumbo stuff.
Baby alert.
I guess Vision is like, I've been reviewing my history and I quickly went to the stupidest part. Which we did do for April Fool's.
We did, with the very weirdly drawn babies in the bathtub. I remember that. I'll never get that vision out of my head.
See, then the thing is like, I feel like this book was really good because, like, just in this one issue, like, it did a lot of myth making for me to be like, oh, these are important Marvel stories. Whatever happened to Wanda's kids in the Kree Skrull War. These are important stories. Which I do like that Marvel's myth making makes me think that, like, oh yeah, we should read these for someday for a comic podcast 15 years from now. Yeah, definitely.
Yep, they tricked you.
They sure did.
I will say, like, it's not that I dislike the way it all came together or anything. Like, I think the reveal and all that, it makes sense, but the first arc with the Kang stuff had this nice steady drip of information and how it came out, and you're like, okay, I see how this is working. Whereas this book has a lot of long monologues being like, and this happened, which is why this happened, and that's why you are you. And it's just kind of like, it's right out there, and it's all at once. I'm like, all right, it's a little too much.
This is probably when they knew that the book was not going to last past 12 issues.
You're probably right. Like, we got to explain it all.
Yeah, the first 6 issues, there's a lot of like subplots setting up, and then they're just like, we're dumping. Like, we have to like set up the next. Like, this isn't so much a subplot as this is the next story arc.
Yeah. So they're like on a ship escaping from everything. The Kree are attacking. Teddy and Billy fly out there. There's like a whole army. It's a Kree versus Skull, not a war, but a battle happening. The New Avengers show up: Iron Man, Spider-Woman, Sentry, Wolverine, Luke Cage, Captain America, Spider-Man. And there's a little bit of stopping all the fighting here. And Captain America, finally, after a while, the Young Avengers are like, please don't make Teddy go, all that. Cap says, all right, Teddy will stay here under the protection of the Avengers. He's not going with either side. He's not going with the Kree, not going with the Skrull. And the Kree are like, geez, bad decision, Cap. And they point a gun at him and they shoot. But Patriot jumped in front. And he's the one who got shot. Cliffhanger, this guy's freaking dead, with a big old splash page of every hero in the background jumping to action. Yeah. Oh my God!
This, to me, I felt like the book was losing a little bit of steam because it's just like, you're going to jump in front of Captain America, the guy who has a big ass shield.
Yeah,
and it's also so obvious what's happening.
Yeah, and he has powers and you don't, man. What do you know? Then the Young Avengers number 12, last issue here. The big old fight breaks out. It is a lot of splash panels at the beginning during the fighting, with like scenes of the Avengers talking to each other and filling in, sort of like, oh, we found out this, and now you know too. But Sentry is going to fly Eli to the hospital.
Let's get Sentry out of this book.
Yeah, he's a little too complicated to work with here.
He's too powerful. He breaks the book.
Teddy
breaks every book.
Yeah. Teddy then decides to give himself up after a lot of this fighting. He's like, there's too much, it's chaos here. I just want to stop the fighting. I'm the only one who can stop it. They basically agree that Teddy is going to spend half a year with each race before making up his mind about which side he's going to go with. And he's going to make regular visits to Earth in that time. And if he doesn't make it home in time for one of his regular visits, then Captain America is going to be really mad. And he's going to exterminate both races because he doesn't care. Presumably. He didn't say all that, but that's what I got from it. And the Kree are happy and the Skrull are happy and everyone goes home. Somehow.
They agree to split custody.
I guess so, except we find
out. Who's taking him to his baseball games? The Kree or the Skrull?
But then we find out it's not even him. It was him and the Super Skrull used their shape-shifting to switch places. Oh my goodness. How did the Skrull fall for
Yeah,
this?
how do the Skrulls believe this? Don't they have a button they can press of like
I know,
Well,
right?
they
show true
wouldn't
form?
they wouldn't think anything untoward would be happening.
Yeah.
Sure, we could. Did the Skrulls just do this shit to each other? Do they just shapeshift all the time?
They must.
Fuck with each other?
It must
Seems
be
like a horrible
stupid.
way to live. Good thing Annihilation's on its way. That'll take care
Oh,
of them.
man.
I think Annihilation's done by. No, it isn't. Because Annihilation's like
No.
06, 07. It's right around this time.
Right around
Yeah.
the corner.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
about to happen. And then Conquest is right after that. So if that doesn't get them,
Yeah.
That doesn't get them.
I thought we read Conquest.
I think
to
we
be
did
honest.
read both of them. I don't think we
Yeah.
read War of the Realms or War of the Kings. I don't think we read the third
No, I don't know
one.
that. I don't know
did
that.
we read it? Annihilation Conquest with Ultron showing up? I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I think we did. I remember Ultron.
All
We
right,
did.
maybe we did.
We have done a lot of these episodes. They're
Yeah.
new to us
Yeah,
now.
it's easy to forget.
Yeah.
Hey, readers,
let's
write
just-
in and tell us what we do as I check my spreadsheet for what we have done.
Yeah, so let's just do episodes again. We'll start doing repeats.
Yeah.
So they all go visit Eli in the hospital. He has lost a lot of blood. He needs a blood transfusion. Hey, let's get his grandpa in there. Get some super soldier serum in this guy. Cool. And I think later they do confirm, like, yeah, he's got some powers now. Okay, great. We get kind of an epilogue-y scene here. Then they get a nice little funeral service for Teddy's mom at Avengers Mansion. Not his real mom, we found out, but hey, she still raised him, right? Billy whips up a bunch of statues for the fallen, a nice statue of Captain Marvel, a nice statue of Scott Lang. Kate finally gets a code name. She's Hawkeye, hooray! And they give her all of Hawkeye's old stuff. Pretty cool.
It's not like he's about to come back to life in like 2
Yeah.
issues of New Avengers.
Not like
Not at all.
this.
Tommy, meanwhile, the other twin, is calling himself Speed, and he shows up with a nice little sonic boom, and he says, I blew up the United Nations building to take out Zodiac, and I need you to put it back together. Let's go. And they're off on another adventure. Hooray! So, yeah, that's the story. That's Young Avengers number 12. Hooray! Definitely felt a little rushed compared to the first half, of course. Mentioning that, but overall, I mean, it's still enjoyable, right? It's got some problems here, but I still had a fun time with it. It's a competent, well written, for the most part, comic that you can just kind of read and enjoy. You know?
I like it a lot, and I don't think there's anything to it. I don't get it. You know, like I mean, like it sets up the characters, but like the Young Avengers, and like even now in retrospect, like they never got to do anything. This is like what I think about when I think about comics as like being like all potential. Like I'm excited to like what's going to happen with these characters. Now the team's together. Now they can go on adventures. They're not going to go on any adventures. There's going to be Children's Crusade, which kind of sucks, quite frankly, or it's just underwhelming.
I never read it. I don't know.
It's underwhelming. They go and try to. I think Cassie Lang wants to go kill Doctor Doom for murdering her dad or something.
Okay.
It's all right, but
Run into Scarlet Witch.
yeah, but it's kind of like whatever. And so I think like this is in comics is like so much more momentum, and in the MCU Marvel movies do this sometimes. You're so excited about like what's next that you never really think like, is this what I'm watching any good, or is this just getting excited about what's next? But I think like I like this. I mean, in terms of like the New Avengers stuff, I'd rather read this than going back and reading New Avengers of this era or reading any of the other like Marvel continuity this time. Like if I'm gonna read and want to see Iron Man and Captain America and Luke Cage in this era, I'd rather read this, right? So I don't know. I enjoy it though. I like all the characters. It makes me excited, and then I'm sad that there's like nothing else they're really gonna do with these characters. Although they're in the movies. The Buff Babies are in WandaVision and Doctor Strange too. So
yeah, they do goose them. They goose them up a little bit.
Yeah.
and they wear goose suits.
Yeah, exactly.
The little buff boys. Okay, I see what you did
That's
there.
right.
I think you should
That's the
leave.
joke.
Goose them up.
Chris, what do you think?
Is it to me or to Kia? I don't know.
Either or.
To you. What
All
do you
right.
think?
I liked this less than the first part. I do. It's hard not to compare this to Runaways, and I completely agree, Vince. It is a shame, like knowing, and that's the way of like. I didn't know this at the time. I think this was probably the last time they got me. Well, no, Avengers. Academy or whatever was probably the last time they got me, where they introduced like 6 new characters, and I'm like, oh boy, they're gonna do something with these guys. But I like team books more than Vince. I do think this is a competent team book, but I do think this storyline, the first one was the first story is very interesting. The second one just gets bogged down, I think, into being an alien fighting, storyline, and they don't let it sort of breathe. Like, I like the Hyde 2-parter a lot better than the Kree Skrull stuff. Mm-hmm. And I also think it's a shame that the book is so focused on like what's Captain America doing, what's Jessica Jones doing, especially since like if anyone should like bond with Teddy over this, it would be Carol Danvers, who is a human who has Kree abilities and blah blah blah, and like was a friend of Captain Marvel. But like she shows up like twice, like once is like she saves the day, and then she's in the big fight at the end, and never again.
And they were pushing her. I think Brian Reed was writing a Miss Marvel that was well liked at the time.
Yeah,
I don't think she was Captain Marvel
yet, but I read it at the time.
I think it was well liked at the time where they were pushing, and she was a friend of Jessica's, wasn't she? Like Jessica Jones's best friend or something in Alias.
Yeah, she's a supporting character in Alias. Jessica Jones shows up a couple of times in Ms. Marvel, but pretty quickly it turns into being too continuity heavy for Jessica Jones to show. But I do just think it's a misfire that there's not more character stuff, and it, in a way, like I know he was rude to you once online, Vince. So he's
but I think he was right now. But yeah.
But Brian K. Vaughan's Runaways is so good. Of one, the villains of the first arc are their parents, so you immediately are like, oh, like there's a lot of story potential of kids versus parents, and then the big twist of like, oh, like their leader is actually a bad guy. Now you're like, oh shit, and this sort of does that with the Kang stuff, but then it sort of backs off. And then the second storyline, like there's no new villain. There's nothing that is like a Young Avengers thing. They're like fighting Mr. Hyde and the Shocker and like just other characters in the Marvel universe. So I think that's kind of why this doesn't sort of stick, is there's nothing, you don't have like a nemesis. You don't have like a thing that, oh, if this guy shows up, then the Young Avengers will show up.
Yeah, and I think that's what I don't think you gravitated this on when we talked about Wolverine and the X-Men a couple episodes ago. I like the fact they had like a young bratty kid Hellfire Club. Like,
right.
Something tied to old continuity, but special for this particular cast.
Sure, yeah.
That I don't think it turned out that way, but I like the potential of that. I think, Chris, you're right. Because then they go and fight Doctor Doom in the next arc.
Yeah, it kind of does. If you read on in Wolverine and the X-Men, a major character is killed by the Hellfire Club.
Yeah,
so
I like the bratty Hellfire Club kids. I think that's a fun idea.
Very good. Yeah. Who I was gonna say, who would be the Young Avengers villains? You'd have to invent somebody.
Yeah, you would have to figure out what, like the obvious candidate they set up would be the uncle of Eli, because he's like run out on them. So
Uncle Aaron type, like in Spider-Verse,
Exactly. Yeah. Like if he is hooked up with bad guys, that would be the obvious way to go. Like a Masters of Evil type thing, but he's like working with them.
That'd be cool.
Wow. Can't believe it.
Chris has a pitch for Young Avengers 2024.
Off the dome. You guys seen this movie Spider-Verse? Let's just do this.
Let's just do that.
It's not a bad idea.
Right.
Just rip off Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to steal from the greats.
Yep. So it works. All right. Well, I think that's enough of Young Avengers. Any last words before we move on to Batman stuff? Let's do it. So we are continuing our long read of Batman Knightfall, the whole Broken Bat saga. We are on Chapter 6 in Detective Comics number 661, written by Chuck Dixon, art by Graham Nolan. And we're continuing directly from last time. The Joker and Scarecrow have broken into the mayor's place at night while he's sleeping. They're scaring him into making some phone calls to cause chaos. They have already called the governor and canceled his request for extra guards. They have called the newspaper and blamed Jim Gordon for everything. And now
Mayor Kroll would have done that anyways. They didn't need
to. That's true. He didn't like him. And then they're also they're calling the fireman police chief to cut their union rolls. What does that mean exactly? Like they're
You don't fuck with the firefighter unions. They are very, very powerful in funding. They tried to take down our mayor in San Antonio because he pissed them off. They put up a lot of ads because they're very mad at our mayor in San Antonio. So I would not fuck with the firefighter unions.
Yeah, and even the mayor is like under their like fear spell, but he kind of breaks out for a second, like, no, I can't do that. They're gonna strike instantly, and they're like, yeah, we gotta up our fear toxin on this guy.
Yep, that's an accurate one. I also like this is where Chris's quote comes from. The Joker's just like thinking, and he's like, we could call the airport again and ask them to page Seymour Butts. It's a very Simpsons Flanders kind of joke, but I like this Joker. This Joker is a weird agent of chaos, not just like I'm just because the Joker I feel is like turning into like just like I like to murder. This Joker is just fucking weird, and then I like him more.
Yeah, I like him when he murders people, but like as a joke because he has no value of human life, not just like I murder everyone. Like that's boring.
Right.
So they then hire or they call up. I don't know how Joker gets in contact with this guy. It's like, oh yeah, I know this guy from Arkham. Firefly. He's a villain who is fire themed, and they get him to set fire to some amusement park. Batman goes in, and he's telling Robin it's too dangerous for him in that fire. Stay out of there. Robin ends up saving Batman's life and saying, Batman, you look like shit, and tries to convince Batman to work smarter, not harder. Which I think Batman is finally like, okay, go get me some information on Firefly.
Firefly, fun fact, was going to be played by Brendan Fraser in the Batgirl movie that got canceled. Yeah.
Aww.
Wow. Okay.
That would have been interesting. I wonder if it would be like the Batman cartoon episode, which is one of the horniest episodes they ever did.
There's several horny episodes of Batman, but this is the
that's the one where he basically he used to date this like supermodel or whatever, but he's like a stagehand person. And then when she breaks up with him, he starts, setting fires and stuff. And like her skirt is like so small. Yeah. It's like, I don't know how kids WB is like, this is fine.
So meanwhile, we get some more action in the ventriloquist story, looking for Scarface. He has this lawyer tied up, and he is behind this like little stage he's made for himself, where two puppets named Duckman and Socko are holding this lawyer hostage. The duck is holding a gun at him, and Socko is like, I don't know about this duck, man. He's crazy. He might shoot any minute. They're trying to find out where Scarface is. The lawyer says, I can get you the papers, but you need to get like a cop who's going to get you in there or whatever. Batman, meanwhile, is going to take a rest, take a shower.
And then he references Batman 66 because they're like, you're going to need a cop to get in there in the evidence lockup. And he's just like, oh, cinch, huh, Officer O'Hara? And then he has a cop puppet, and he's like, oh, tis me, son. I'm your man.
Gosh,
I am.
That is Batman
thick
66.
Irish accent of Batman 66, Captain O'Hara.
I didn't. I knew that must have been a reference to something. I didn't really realize it. So then Batman is resting. He's talking to Bruce. He's talking to
Alfred.
Alfred, thank you. I almost said Jarvis. That's the other one. Talking to Alfred, and Alfred is very he's a little snarky in this, like saying stuff under his breath that Batman can't quite hear. Robin, meanwhile, is looking up stuff on Firefly. Okay, hold on. Earlier, when Joker was talking about Firefly, or maybe Batman was talking about him in some captions, we learned that Firefly was like a Hollywood special effects guy specializing in fire. And eventually he started making money off of his fire by causing the stuff to burn down and figuring out how to make money off of that. And then he started doing it for pleasure. When Robin is looking this guy up, his name is Garfield Linz. We learned that he had an arrest record for arson that goes back to juvie. So now I'm wondering, how did this guy get to be a bigwig in the special effects industry with fire when he's been in trouble for arson all the way from being a teenager? This is not adding up to me. Sealed records? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, but he has no credit history or anything.
In
the networks. Maybe he's not been documented. Maybe it's all under this guy works for movies. He gets paid under the table.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
And also, Tim Drake is like a 14-year-old trying to do research on 1992 internet. Maybe Tim Drake's not very good at this.
But he's great at it, apparently. Jeez.
Yeah, he's great at it. He even interviews this ghost and gets a bunch of information or whatever it is.
Oh,
I guess just
yeah.
a nun.
All right. So I thought this was going to be like all right. He goes to some church where apparently Garfield Lynns was like raised or something. And he finds this ghost nun. It's not really a ghost, but like it looks like a ghost who's just like talking like, oh, I remember that kid. And like mentions he had a sister named Amanda. And Robin's like, oh, yeah, I should go check that out. Thanks, nun lady. And like turns around and she's gone.
Yeah, her face is all in like silhouette. So you never actually see her. And you're just like, what is happening? Is this like a supernatural encounter?
I thought it was going to come back to something for sure. But I don't know. Maybe in a future issue, but nothing so far. Meanwhile, Dr. Simpson Flanders is on TV again, friend of the show, says society is to blame for everything. Cool. It's getting to be a little bit one note, this Simpson.
Yeah, I'm kind of skipping past these pages now. Yep. These seem a little redundant. Aren't mentally ill people? I think we talked about this like in any Chris, I think you called this like, but you live in a cartoon universe where these things are real. Like any other thing, well, yeah, let's absolutely talk about like recidivism and like, you know, how the criminal justice system doesn't help rehabilitate people, but we don't live in you live in a fucking cartoon universe with the Joker.
Yeah, a world where Batman is necessary to help fight crime.
Meanwhile, the Riddler is planning something with his goons. He's like cutting out a bunch of letters to make a letter to the police. It's addressed for the police headquarters, Gotham Central. It says urgent, but we don't see what he's sending them. We see that other cop, Kitch, that we met for a brief second. And Bullock is like pistol whipping some guy that Kitch brought in. And the cops have to like drop everything to go help with another situation. They don't see this letter that the Riddler wrote. They were just about to open it. Shame. We're never going to know what was in there.
I do love it because, again, you know, in the real world, Bullock should not pistol whip suspects. But it's just like, this is a super villain.
It's fine. Then we see the cops going to that sister of Firefly's house, Amanda, which... I'm surprised they were on that lead as well. Did they meet that ghost nun too? How did they know? But they're hoping that she can point the cops in the right direction and ask for some of his favorite places. Robin is outside in a tree using a giant device to listen in on this list of favorite places as well. Great. Batman is fighting some fencing villain. Do we get a name on this guy? I wanted to know what
the
this
Cavalier. Yeah,
the Cavalier.
He is a Bronze Age. 70s Batman villain that's pretty lame.
Mm-hmm. And while he's fighting, Robin gives him a call. I was like, hey, here's some possible locations you can go to. Batman says, I'm closest to the bowling alley. I'm going to go there first. And hey, that's where Firefly is. Great. And they fight for a little bit, and then we get a little cliffhanger with Batman falling in some fire to his death. Oh, no. What's going to happen? Probably going to die.
I do like that, like, even in his, like, total exhaustion and everything, he, like, easily beats the crap out of this French Cavalier fencing man.
That guy's nothing. No big deal. And boy, looking at the next cover, Batman's ears look weird on that cover. They are too long. That's
what my daughter said. My daughter was looking at me because she's fucking into DC because of fucking League of Super Pets. So she loves Batman and Flash. And she's like, Dad, read books about Batman. And she's like, Batman's ears are too long. They're going to poke you.
They're going to poke you.
They will poke you. Yeah, I think that's a Sam Keith cover.
Yeah, she's she was very worried about Batman hurting people that way in issue 4. Or she's a 4-year-old, I'm sorry. So.
Yep. But yeah, not much going on in this issue. Feels like a lot of little bits of setup for stuff, but not a ton of movement in a lot of areas here. Yeah. We'll see. Still enjoyable enough, but
yeah, I think the earlier issues were like felt more like done in ones, but still like forward momentum, and this one does not.
Yeah, the moment Firefly was like the main central character, I was like, all right, I don't know how much I care about this guy. It can't be all that important.
Gosh, those horns are like 3 times as big as his head.
I do like Graham Nolan's art a lot, and I like whoever's doing the coloring. This is pre-digital coloring, so the digitized version of it is fine, but I think it looks really good because it's all like fire lit. So it's Batman as a comic is a lot darker in color tones than most superhero comics, but this one has a lot of reds and oranges because Firefly likes fire.
And I would bet this was published on when DC would have it like that. They're publishing like a newsprint for a long time, like newspaper paper, that crappy paper. So I'd bet this was not nice paper compared to other comics.
Probably not, but like I said, it looks good. Graham Nolan's art is good. I do think this issue is kind of not moving, any of the major stories. I mean, even the minor stories like Ventriloquist and all this stuff, we're not really pushing that stuff forward, and we don't even see Bane. So I don't know.
Yeah, didn't feel like the most important one, but I will agree. I especially liked Graham Norton's faces. Not Norton.
Graham Norton, yep. No,
Graham
Nolan.
Graham Nolan, thank you. Graham Norton's the
talk show host.
Yeah. Graham Nolan's faces I thought looked really good. There were a few times when it kind of was like, it made me think of like Steve Dillon art a little bit, Punisher and stuff. I don't know. Not exactly.
But yeah, you can kind of see that, especially some of the faces are they're Vertigo adjacent because Dylan was Preacher was a little later than this, wasn't it? Yeah.
Now I'm looking at these big old ears again. Jeez, Batman, what are you doing? Okay. But yeah, I think that's enough Batman here. There's not much to say about this issue, but next time we will be on to chapter 7 of Knightfall in Batman 495. And our main read for next time, hey, this is a big one. You know what episode number next time is?
What episode number? It's
episode number 200.
Whoa.
Why am I answering that question? You're the one who keeps track of this, Vince. You're the one who knows.
I'm excited. This is like, it feels like only yesterday. I'm like, wow, we got to 100 episodes. Now we're at 200. It's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So we are doing something. I don't know why this is our anniversary episode, but it feels pretty nice. We're doing some Alan Moore. Alan Moore is always giving us some nice episodes, nice stuff to talk about. But we are doing an Alan Moore series called 1963, which I don't think you can actually get anywhere, which is maybe a problem. But this came out in 1993, and it's kind of Alan Moore's take on like 6 different Silver Age one-shots. That's my impression of it. I haven't read it yet. And I think a lot of art by Rick Veitch with a few other folks mixed in there as well. You can find it out there on the internet. It exists. That's how we're going to end up getting it because, again, you can't officially get it for sale anywhere. But I'm pretty excited about
Get it at your local comic shop.
Maybe. Okay. And Chris, this was one of your suggestions. Anything you want to say about this, or just let us experience it?
Yeah. Well, it's Marvel. It's Alan Moore's tribute to the Silver Age that he did in 1993. So it's a 30-year anniversary of that of 1993, and he was looking back 30 years to 1963.
Oh shit! Now is the 30-year and a lot of 30s here.
So it's 60 years ago, looking backwards. So I thought it would be a fun anniversary.
Cool. So yeah, we'll be reading that next time. All 6 issues of that. I think that's all the comic stuff we got to talk about here. What else do we have to talk about? What is Your Stupid Minds up to? Your other podcast, Chris?
What is Your Stupid Minds up to? We have been trapped in hell. We are escaping soon, but we've done 2 consecutive Pinocchio episodes.
I was gonna say, I thought we just talked about a different Pinocchio last time, and then I saw you came up with another one. Y'all did which one? I'll let you do your plug.
Yes, we did the Robert Zemeckis Disney Plus Direct Pinocchio that came out about 4 months ago.
Oh,
it's. I don't even know. I mean, you have to listen to the episode. It's unbelievable how bad it is.
Wow.
Was it intended always to be a Disney Plus movie, or is it one of those ones that like this is not good enough for theaters? We're gonna knock it down.
I don't know that they ever had a release date, but I think by the time it was like shaping up, they knew this was Disney Plus only because it's like Lady and the Tramp was, I think, a Disney Plus. That was also during pandemic, I think. But
like Hocus Pocus 2 and Disenchanted both were Disney Plus 2, straight to Disney Plus. And I'm like, this seems like a bad pattern.
Yeah, I think they're trying not to, hurt the brand by putting out stuff in theaters that doesn't do well, which I don't quite understand. Like, you'd think that's just free money. But yeah, it's...
They released Dumbo.
Yeah,
in
well,
theaters.
and we talk about it. Dumbo is probably, the thing that sort of we're like, are people sick of this?
Tim Burton's Dumbo.
So
Reuniting
yeah,
the cast of Batman Returns.
it's really bad. It's you have to listen to our episode to get into how bad it is, and it's really sad that Robert Zemeckis, a great filmmaker who's made a lot of classic films, including Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Back to the Futures 1 through 3.
yes,
Death Becomes Her. Forrest Gump.
Yes,
Polar
is now doing this. Like, it's sad. Like, just let him retire and not work anymore if this is the alternative.
So sad. Well, thanks for that update, Vince.
I got nothing. Actually, well, technically, I've been talking about this episode for a long time, but it finally came out. Games my mom found about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the Metroidvania with the Spider-Verse characters. It's a lot of fun. Games my mom found. Go check it out. I had a lot of fun on that episode.
Nice. I've got little to talk about. I've just been busy working and going to wrestling shows and all that good stuff.
Nice.
One day I'll get back to the stream. I keep saying it, one day. Maybe I'll play that new Metroid Prime on stream. Who knows? But I think that's it for this episode. Vince, thank you so much. I love you.
Love you too, bud.
Chris, thank you. I love you.
Oh, hi. This is a nun. Chris disappeared.
Just ghost nun. And audience, listeners, thank you so much for listening as well. We'll see you all next time. Have a nice night. Bye.